everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to continue our tour of just kind of playing whatever decks we want before the rotation comes back, and maybe make some decks that are maybe on the edge of playable, and maybe this will become unplayable or more playable as cards kind of rotate in and out of the format and things like that. And obviously, like for example, the playtest streams, not known for being the most competitive things in the world, just because it is a lot of people trying to have fun, figure out the new cards, how they work and interact. So like Dinosaurs isn't going to show up in any of those matches tomorrow. Like, why would they? So here we are. We're playing dinos ourselves, and this is where I've kind of updated this list. It's definitely a bit different than the last one. I had other kind of things in my big mana slot. We slotted in some tail swipes to make sure we had some instant speed removal, and I got rid of the kind of burn spell that I'm not very fond of. I talk about it quite often. The dinosaur, or the one that scales off of power and toughness, or toughness, I don't remember exactly, but it being sorcery speed always felt really bad, and with slick shot kind of being like a one-shot KO, I much rather roll the dice and have a tail swipe in my hand and maybe make my hammer skull fight a slick shot if possible over that. So I did make some adjustments there. Weirdly enough, I went down on Brotherhood End slightly. That might be controversial in general, especially when we're playing best of one here, but this is the list. We're going to go ahead and run it down, see how it goes. We have some very close matches and some matches where our opponent just looked across the table and said, yeah, you're right, those creatures are bigger than mine. I will see you next time. And they might end up leaving at that present moment. But so outside of that, let's go ahead and hop into the games. If you all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. I truly appreciate it. And let's just head out there and see how big our dumb dinos can get. Okay. Opponent going first, not my favorite. Them mauling's pretty good for us though. We'll see what we're up against, whether this is going to name human or dino. Being aggro kind of screams like I should just have it named on human, but Copperline makes everything worth it. Then we can get in here with the hammer skull next turn, as long as our Lord Keeper's still around. Very possible that it won't be, but ooh. Yeah, I'll let that happen. I mean, it's very minimal damage in comparison to what it could be. But here's my 6/6. So I can block the Swiss Spear unless they put like a ruckus or something on there, and then I cannot. That's a problem. That guy, that flying monster trees doesn't even make it big enough to get through the hammer skull here, so we're actually pretty fortunate. What do we have? Have that monster trade in hand? Want to commit it now? Do? Okay. I had to like do quick math, see if they had enough for lethal or not. Alright. So Carnosaur is like the obvious play to take out the slick shot, right? We have to remove it. Can I progress anymore outside of that play alone? Or do I play this raptor and I attack for 6? Then I probably just end up losing the game regardless. That's a weird spot to be in. I guess I just pass here. You can't monsters raise the slick shot again because it won't get any more toughness, so it won't end up surviving the Carnosaur. Pause. Image. Ah, yes. We will remove this. Probably should have let them play with fire and make their decision first, but realistically, their decision's not going to be that hard. The only problem is I don't really have reach to take out these Phoenix chicks, so I essentially have 2 turns to figure this game out. And that is horrifying. So we're going to play this. They mauled. They didn't maul. They put the card on bottom. So this is popping up. And like I said, I have to basically finish the game. I have to hope for a brick off the top, and I have to close out. And I think my opponent realizes that they just need like one spell. They need to not die. And I have it. Those can't block. And I believe I have lethal. I could be wrong. I'm at 1. I play here. I play here. And I believe it's lethal. that one, and then all haste, and then all in. And we end up getting there. Wow. Living at 1, setting aggro to -6 because Phoenix Chick, as good as it was in the past, it's definitely not felt as good as it once did. Obviously, like, don't have a ton of options, but right now, either way, moving on. I think I'm gonna maul that hand. I just don't think it's good enough. I'll keep here, and I'll put Dracosaur on the bottom, and we'll just hope this is good. Maybe use this to find stuff, but the only problem is, like, at least now if I draw one of those removal spells, I have something that I can actually put it into. Hey. I do get to play my Hammer Skull on turn 2, which is obviously the best case scenario, unless they cut down my Lore Keeper. Might be giving that one a read. I haven't seen it in a very long time either. I just can't wait until we get our Land War Elves from the Foundation set. You know, the makeup brand for our Magic the Gathering cards. It's right on cue, you know, that card works just as well as Omniscience. But yeah, here we go. They leave our Lore Keeper around. Now we play a Hammer Skull uncounterably. They play a Mastermind. All flyers here, probably pretty close to seeing a Gix happen. But I'm going to probably play this Forest, play the Raptor, get in for more. The problem is they're going to try... Well, there's the Gix. I lied. They're probably going to try to nickel and dime their way through this game, or go for a third my Hammer Skull, things like that. And we just have to kind of do the same thing we did in game 1, where we just overwhelm. Uncounterable Raptor. This also keeps our Hammer Skull from, like, getting a stun counter on it and forcing them to kind of use their go for the throat now on Hammer Skull. But with this Raptor, they might have to make a decision whether or not to do nothing about the Hammer Skull. Put the Raptor on top. Fairy Mastermind number 2. Playing Gix here is flirting with trouble in a sense. Like, not too badly, but it is a little bit scary. Like, the draws don't do as well. Yeah, I mean, I have to take my draw here. Sure. I'm gonna cast this thing. A lot of good hits. That not necessarily being one of them. And I'm dead in the air, I believe. Yes. Which is tough. Unless they trade his Shieldred off. No way, right? This is our only hope. We want them to trade his Shieldred off. Trade off the Shieldred. It's what we need. Please. Ah. They win. They call the bluff. They win. That's all I got. Good game. They're going to hit me for 6, go to my upkeep, and then this will end up killing me. So I end up losing right there on the spot. So very cool. Is what it is. And we move on. We go first. I mean, this hand's really good. We do get one, like, decent draw here. Just see if we connect with anything on the board. Could argue we just stagger our turn out and just play the ridgeline, but I think I'm going to go for the optimal play that if I hit the 3 drop, I'll get to kind of slam it down here. But we will see. He's minded. Maybe he's confused. Haha, really bad pun by me. Either way, like, if I don't hit a 3 drop and they don't play anything too pressing, I'm probably just going to play the ridgeline regardless. Or I can just... Ooh. I guess with that said, I should probably just pop that, huh? Yes. Definitely should. I guess this is like the worst one to play because I could have prevented the damage. But we'll see what they do. Boros it is, but dinos tend to bully Boros in a way, as long as we can keep him off the fast track. Assassin's Creed lane, very cool. Ganji already in play. Mountain, Word in the Sky, not rotating, so card we'll have to deal with for a while. This card is like so cool, but man, do I hate that card. I like it in more conventional ways. I just hate it here. Like here, I'm just like, man, this card knows how to really make me mad. I'll name dinosaur, and then I'll play this. And now a case is not possible to move my raptor. And if I rip an untapped land, it tallies online. And this ridge is sitting in such a weird spot, but I'm not going to complain with how my hand panned out because I really like the way it's gone. But the raptor will make 2 for 5, and then we have the lore keeper for 6, but the Atali obviously is 7. I know. Boss master. Well, they whiff, so you know sometimes it just be the way it has to do because it does how it be. You know. What am I saying? Not entirely sure, but we play this. We now just passed. No point. This is the process in which we are going to try to tear our opponent down, pretty much. Hopefully dodge some Mimidane nonsense. These lore keepers are pretty much sacrificial pawns along with the paleontologist. I just need 1 of my 3 mana dorks to live through this turn, and then I play an Atali. Then I hit something off their board. Alright, well. They're going for the attempt to go super wide. Honestly, worst hit for us is the Gleeful Demolition. Like by far the most tragic thing that we can have. They do nothing, so I pay into this, and I might as well exile this Carnosaur, right? Because on one hand, like, do I play the Carnosaur? Probably not. I think Atali is a much more solid option, and I am going to play this land, so I don't have to tap any of my creatures, and we put an Atali into play. Now they can case my Atali, which is messed up. There's a Carnosaur, and there's more creatures, so I'm going to take that. We want to do Carnosaur first in case we do hit something like a Brother's Hood in. I'm probably not going to cast it. Probably just put it in hand and just kind of sit there on it. Kind of hope we don't hit it, but Hammer Skull will be good enough. And my opponent decides that my creatures are coming out pretty quick, but also way larger than theirs. On average, each creature is bigger than their entire board if you don't count a Knight Errant, but Dinos takes it to Boros. Not a very common trend, I would imagine. Opponent goes first. My hand's a little sucky. It's like fine, but it sucks at the same time, you know? Yeah, chat, when it feels good, but oh, I'm so dead. It's so over for me. Oh, flip it too. No? Worst card ever printed, bro. Just tell my legacy players that. Tell them that their Delver's secret sucks. They'll never be able to handle it. You do have a way to remove it without, like, putting an actual spell in the stack. See, this is why it sucks, chat. Like, look at that. Look at this goofy 1/1. That could have been a 3/2. The card's fine, chat. I'm lying. Yeah, here we are. Cavern going to be very crucial in this matchup, so we want to make sure that if they do happen to play anything, perfectly fine here. Watch it flip now. Yeah, of course. It flips now, then I'm going to remove it, you know. Can you imagine how much more damage they would have here if I didn't have the capability of removing this? Now, obviously, they could have protection spells, but this is the first card they're seeing from us, so maybe not flying around it all too much. Sure, I mean, prevents me from taking 3. That card on top, so most likely whenever they play this Delver, it's going to flip again. Is fine, I guess. Dino? Raptor. Give me way more mana to operate with. A card that's going to be pretty good on insteps here is probably the Smuggler's Surprise, especially considering they're probably a tap-out deck. Love to have had 1 extra mana for this hard-hitting question and maybe try to fire off on the Delver. But we get some information there, if you can't tell, that they didn't cast the Impulse even though they knew the top card. Like, they could have cast Impulse for maybe better value now knowing I have a Hulking Raptor in play. But with that said, you have to go for something else. And there's a consider. Now, Hulking Raptor is unremovable, or not removable because of how, like, board works and blue decks. So holding up their Make the Sphere, hoping that is good. I have, like, bad-ish news. This one. They can make the Sphere if they want, but I can obviously pay for it. In negate. Sure. Wasn't ready for negate, but it is what it is. Play this land, move to combat, and attack for 5. Now I have like protection, and I can still pay for this. The protection's only 1 colorless plus the green. So worst case scenario, it is a indestructible spell. Consider. I have to assume Haughty Gen's also coming at some point. That are just neutral. Especially whenever there's like a Delver in play. It's not necessarily the best thing of all time. Do I try to get them to counter my Smuggler's Surprise? Like, I wouldn't be opposed to that, you know? Down to 12. I guess I'd try to get them to counter this. Tapping out entirely for this. Kind of to entice them more. And with a Cavern in play, you could see him maybe taking the bait. Brothers Hidden could be like good here, might be bad. Yeah, I'm gonna grab us a Tolly. Or grab us Lore Keeper. Now, I'm gonna make mana, I'm gonna play land, and I'm gonna put this Atali in play. And it's uncounterable. So that's pretty sick. So here's this card. The only problem is, most likely every card in their deck sucks for me to hit. Outside of the cards we've already seen, like Consider. What about my Raptor? What's the problem here? Also, that was one of the reasons I kind of figured Smuggler's Surprise might end up biting the counterspell, and I wanted to entice them more into it. Was because, like, if I see a Dino, the Smuggler's Surprise is probably looking for one. And that's what I was kind of hoping they would vouch their play on, but they did not. First for Discovery. Draw 3, then discard 2, and please no basic. Ah, you're so good. Oh boy. Oh no. I don't even care about that. I'll decline. That doesn't matter to me. Hellborn Tyrant, sure. And now I just play this Lore Keeper. You have to kind of dodge the march. I could have maybe attacked and got really aggressive. But I am at 15 thanks to this Tyrant. There's Haughty Gen though. I could double Brothers Hood in. That would be a wild play. I just don't know if that play works. I can basically force him to trade off their Haughty Gen unless they have a bounce spell. There's 3. They're holding back. Okay. Makes sense. Well. Comes the mana. If I do anything with my mana. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8. I can flip this, but then I don't have enough for Brothers Hood in. Interesting. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If they flip at, it's lethal. But I'm going to resolve one of these Brothers Hood in regardless. Ooh, am I? Huh. They could phase out their Haughty Gen, I guess. Move to combat. Just force some blocks. Like, obviously this is going to probably go here. Then they have to kind of stare at a lot of damage unless they have the bounce spell. Maybe not the one I would bounce. If I was to bounce one. Considering that one is like the one that gains me the life. But sure. But I guess you can't really bounce Atali either, right? So there's like a weird situation with that. You phasing that out? Oh, please let that trade. Flip out the back. They're phasing out. Sure. Oh boy. So it's 8. That's in the yard. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Make this appear on top. just gonna deal damage, I guess. Do this. We're just gonna hope it's enough. Yeah, it's 9. They only need so many spells. And make this appear as one of the cards in their hand. Land. They hold. Or really good sign. If they don't hold, it's a really bad sign. I think I can still do it regardless. I can get my Tyrant back. Not really what I'm looking to do. I mean, I'm gonna play this land regardless. I could flip this, but they could have a bounce spell. I can bring this up and do an all-out attack. I could probably do that regardless. So they can't let Tolly plus any of these creatures hit, I guess. So all-out attack here. It could bounce a Tolly and then like kind of the opposite, but we get a block here. Exactly what we're looking for. Trample over. Hit him to 3. And of course, like, you could argue we should have brought up the Ridge Line, but I don't know if this is a bounce spell. This is uncounterable, by the way. Yep, there we go, man. They just didn't have a spell to put on the stack. Alright, so I just played some dinos today, weirdly enough. It was definitely enjoyable. I actually got to play against other matches other than just straight up mono red. Am I saying craft this? No. I never really ever recommend crafting dinos, because when dinos does its thing, or you're watching dinos do its thing, sometimes you're like, man, how does anybody ever beat a turn 3 Hammer Skull? And it's quite simple. They go for the throat it, and then you just kind of have to figure out the rest of the game. Or sometimes big aggro decks like mono red puts a slick shot in play, as we saw in the very first game where we barely won. That sometimes it's just not going to pan out, and you're going to run pretty poorly with this type of deck. But it is fun. Like, it's definitely a fun deck to have around in the shed and just break out every now and then. But as you can see, like, kind of commons, uncommons, like all here, and then outside of that, I think everything's a rare or a mythic in this deck. So unless you already have these, I would never probably recommend crafting it, because I mean, just to start it very quickly, even though it's all rotation safe, you don't want to be we don't want to be wasting our rares and mythics, you know what I'm saying? And then you're very quickly looking at like this as well, right? So this is pretty much the crafting guide on that. Is commons, uncommons are things you just have, and then rares, mythics, and rares. Like, it's just a lot. So obviously the only card in here that you might have is probably all these Tyrants and Carnosaurs. So it's like, why wouldn't you? But you got to remember the rest of the decks kind of needs to be there. It's just a fun deck to play, really. Maybe the most competitive. No. Did we get any dinosaurs in the new set? I don't think so, because it's all like raccoon stuff like that. Lizards is apparently broken, so that's very cool. But outside of that, I mean, that's all it's going to be for me today, chat. I had some fun. I hope you all enjoyed the video, as you know, as per usual, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.